Hey guys, Marmalade here. What is going on? Well, it's time for another gear review, and what is that item? My lighting equipment, Enigma Quilt. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that intro. That was a lot of work. I'll have to show you a few outtakes at the end, but it wasn't as easy as I thought. But yeah, I thought I'd do a gear review on my quilt. A little history on it. As I told you guys, I've been backpacking for about 4.5, almost 5 years now, and I first had a typical mummy bag. It weighed 3.5 or more pounds. It was fairly warm, but it was very confining. Like I've said before, I'm a big guy, 6'3" and about 230, and I roll over a lot, sleep on my sides, and it was a mummy bag. I was literally like this, and I couldn't stretch, I couldn't move. So the mummy bag style was uncomfortable to start with. So as I got more serious about the sport, or whatever you call it, I decided that I needed something a little warmer, but also much lighter and more room. So in my research, I felt like the quilt was the natural next step to go. And I want to say before I get going into this, it's all personal, right? I'm just telling you what I like and what I use. Doesn't mean it's for you. I always hate to qualify that, but I'm not saying this is the end all. It's worked out really well for me. I've been very happy. So I'll go over what I have, the specs of it, why I went to it. At the end, I'll give you my kind of a quick review of what I've experienced so far. But one of the other reasons I want to do this, I've kind of done the rough math. I think I've done right around 150 nights in this quilt, and probably over 2,000 miles hiking wise. So I feel I have a good enough experience with it and base to kind of qualify me to give my opinion on it. So I wanted to wait till I'd used it enough to know. So that's why I'm doing this gear review in the first place. All right, so let's get on with the review. With that said, yes, it's the lighting equipment Enigma Quilt. They also make one called the Revelation, and I really was torn initially between the two, and the only difference is the layout's pretty much the same, but mine does not have a zipper. The Revelation has a zipper that goes from the top all the way down into the foot box, and one of the things that was seemed kind of advantageous to me was that you can unzip the whole thing and create a blanket if you were too hot. But I found since using mine that I've almost never had that situation come in, and the zipper adds weight, which it also is something to deal with, something that can get caught. My old mummy bag, my zipper was always caught in my mummy bag in the middle of the night in the dark, trying to get that undone, and sometimes even tearing the material. So I don't deal with the zipper. It's made my my quilt lighter, and I don't have to deal with it at all. The other negative too, was that the zipper, as it goes to the very bottom where the foot box is, created a small hole. And when you're in really cold conditions, that's the last thing you want to do is have cold air coming into your feet. So I had called, before I decided on which one I wanted to get, I called Light Equipment, which has great customer service, and I had asked, what do I do about the hole, and they said, oh, just stuff a t-shirt or something down there. And I've mentioned this before in a couple other videos, and I don't think I should have to do that to make the product work right. It's their solution. I do, when it's cold, put my water filter down there and exterior batters, things like that. But I don't want to throw extra clothes and things down there just to pat it down. And who knows if my feet will kick it off the hole and all that. So mine has the first 2.5 feet is all sewn in. So it's an enclosed foot box, and then it opens up, which I'll show you. So I got the lighter model, simpler, less moving parts. So that's why I went with the Enigma over the Revelation. So what do you get when you order a quilt? Let me show you really quickly. Of course, you get the quilt. This beautiful thing here. It's amazing that after all this time, it's still this puffy. So you get the quilt. You get a steel nylon stuff sack. I've used it for other things, but this is when it's not crushed all the way, but you can use this if you want. I use a waterproof type one because this is not waterproof, but I use this for other things. I put other clothes and things like that in it. You also get this very large storage sack. And what is this for? This is for, you want to keep your feathers puffy and fluffy so they create the warming qualities you need. But when you're not in a backpack and they're not squished in there, you want to keep them in this bag so that the feathers aren't being squashed, like I said. So this bag is great, keeps it clean, super easy to use. But yeah, that's what you get. Oh, and you also get 2 straps, which I'll show you. So first off, I had a hard time deciding what size to get. I ended up getting, instead of the standard one, I got the long and wide. So it's one size up on length and width. So I've said this before, but a couple years ago in 2018, before my thru hike attempt, I was at PCT Trail Days and Light and Equipment were there, and they were nice enough to fit me, and so I got in one. I'd never had a quilt, so I really had no idea what size I needed, and being a bigger guy, I was just, you know, questioning. So I laid in, they fit me, and the key is, no matter how, if you're skinny, tall, short, fat, whatever your size is, the key is to get just a little bigger than you need, but not too big, because remember, once you use a quilt and you wrap it around you, you want to you're going to be heating the air inside the space, but you don't want it too big where every time you move it lets cold air in and you've got to reheat it again. You want it to be, you don't want it snug, but you want it just enough. And I felt and I'm also a side sleeper, so I'm always flipping over and kind of over in a semi-fetal position, so I need a little more room, and the mummy bag never let me do that. So this is why I love this thing. So I got the long and wide, which is 78 inches long and 58 inches circumference around. And as you can see, it's a black on the outside and eggplant on the inside. So how they work is they have a multitude of colors you can choose from. But I didn't want to wait for it to be customized. So what they have is certain colors that represent certain sizes and also fill when it comes to what temperature rating the quilt is. So mine just happened to be black on the outside and eggplant in the middle, and it actually turned out to be great. I thought the black was good because it just hides dirt. What I found on trail, when you get a lot of dew on your quilt overnight, and sometimes you pack it up wet, when we would stop and do a yard sale, what we call a yard sale, which is lay everything out to dry, the black absorbs heat quick and dries fast. And so my jacket from them is made from the same color too, because it's amazing how quick it absorbs heat, even if you have semi-sun on the trail, and it will dry things out. So the black turned out to be great, and I like the eggplant color. It's pretty cool. So you can order any colors you want. They have a zillion colors, but then it takes close to 8 to 10 weeks to get. So I wanted mine right away, and I got it within a week, so that was good. They had it made and sent it right away. And one of the biggest selling points for me was the physical size. Remember, I told you all my gear is getting smaller and lighter. And as I said, my old mummy bag was 3.5 pounds. This one is 1.52 pounds or 24.5 ounces. So I'm saving basically half the size and weight, because my other mummy bag was huge and took up a big space in my backpack. And I do want to mention that a standard one that's not long and wide is around 19 ounces. I think at a 20-degree bag. I also didn't mention yet, I got a 10-degree bag. I wanted to go warmer rated, which means more fill. And if you add the more fill and long and wide material, that's what made my quilt go from 19 ounces to 24.5 ounces. But still, I mean, it's super light compared to what I had. Also, the material I picked was what came standard, which was 10 denier, which is the thickness of the sil nylon material. I got 10 denier on the inside and out. You can go much lighter, much heavier, and that's obviously going to adjust your weights. As I said, I got one off the shelf, so I didn't want to wait. And 10 denier seems to be a happy medium of light, but yet tough enough because I wanted it to last. But as I said, there's a myriad of colors. You can design it how ultra light, how heavy duty you want, colors inside and out and all that. So it's a nice feature. You just know that you maybe order it when you don't need it yet, because it's going to take much longer to get if it's customized. Okay, so what did it cost me? Well, I will mention that I'm doing this video in December 2020, but I bought it late November of 2018 because I was preparing my gear for my springtime through hike attempt, March 26, 2019. So I was getting all my gear dialed in. So I got this in November 2018. Standard one, remember I kind of got the bigger size, but the standard one was $280. I paid $320 for the extra fill and the long and wide size, so $320. And with that said, now that, like I said, it's December 2020, I looked on their site, and I think the standard one, instead of $280, is $290. And remember, I paid $320. I put in my parameters of my quilt, and it's $355, so it's $35 more, and that's about a year and a half almost, so whatever. So it's not too bad, but yeah, $355 for the same quilt that I have. Oh, I forgot to mention a couple other key selling points for me, which they have U-shaped baffles, which means it's sewn in panels basically inside the quilt, which keep the down fill in their areas instead of having just big huge open area where it can go and migrate to other areas. It keeps it in the section, so down does tend to gather and clump a little bit, but these baffles keep the down in certain areas so that you have good coverage overall and you don't have clumping all in one side or one corner of your quilt. And lastly, I picked the 850 Downtech fill, and it's treated with some kind of chemical that helps semi protect the feathers from like smells, but also for moisture, so that if you soak down, it's going to clump and get wet anyway. But this helps, like if you do get dew or condensation in the morning helps from your, I've had tons of condensation on my quilt at times, and I'm still dry and warm on the inside. And you feel the outside, you're like, wow, how's that not soaking through? But that, so it helps treat and keep the loft in your feathers, but also, you know, keep the moisture at a certain point from getting inside. So those two things really are helpful, and I've experienced a lot. I bet you half the time I've been in my quilt, I've had condensation on my quilt when I've woken up in the morning. So lastly, what are my thoughts on my quilt? Like I said, I probably have around 150 nights with it. I've been thoroughly impressed, and I don't know that I have any complaints. I have to think about that, but I don't think I do, and that's rare with gear because there's no perfect tent, shoes, you know, all that stuff. But I've had no complaints. I am 6'3", which is 75 inches, and I told you that my quilt is 78 inches, so I got it so I can, on really cold nights, I can get it up around my neck. And I wear a beanie, or I'll wear my jacket with a hoodie if I'm trying to keep my head, because the only thing is expose your head. But it's very toasty warm. I haven't been in there when it's too hot, but I mean, I can use it as a blanket. I told you the toe box is sewn in, but the rest of it's open. And I've just been thoroughly impressed, and I'm just amazed at how far this thing compresses down. I use, so one thing I carry an extra bag now for is I keep a waterproof bag to put my quilt in. It goes in the bottom of my pack, and I have my sleep clothes, I have a beanie and gloves, and that's what I keep in there, just in case you ever get in any kind of hypothermic situation. You want your quilt and your sleep clothes to be dry, no matter what. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was educational and informative. Hopefully it helps you too if you're maybe on the fence whether you're getting a sleeping bag, mummy bag, you know, a quilt, whatever. Like I said, this works for me. I love it. It might not work for everybody. I've had a couple friends that don't necessarily like quilts. So, you know, I just haven't seen any downside to it. It's half the size, it's half the weight, super warm, easy and simple to use, especially at the end of the day when you're hiking and you can just set up really quickly. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Until next time. See you down the trail.